Yo, Shortbox Nation, this is Badr, and I'm here to tell you right now that con season starts early this year with the return of Northeast Florida's premier anime, comic book, and sci-fi event, Collective Con. That's right, Northeast Florida's largest pop culture convention returns for its 10th year on March 8th through the 10th at the Prime Osborne Center in Jacksonville, Florida. 10 years of Collective Con, they're pulling all the stops out to make sure this is a can't-miss event. And the guest list they got going, don't even get me started on the guest list. I mean, they've got A-list celebrity guests and voice actors from some of your favorite movies, anime, and video games like Elijah Wood and Sean Ashton, Ray Park, Trisha Helfer, Ross Marquand, Max Middleman, and Bo-Katan herself will be there, Katie Sackhoff. Tell me what other convention is giving you the opportunity to meet Frodo and Sam from Lord of the Rings, Darth Maul, and One Punch Man all under the same roof. Only at Collective Con. And if you're looking to get some of your favorite comics signed, or if you want to get an original sketch from some of the best comic artists in the world, well, you're in luck, because there'll be plenty of comic and creator guests there, like DC comic artist extraordinaire Clay Mann, Harvey Award-nominated illustrator John Taylor Christopher, Marvel and DC cover artist Chris Stevens, and acclaimed Star Wars author Timothy Zahn. They'll all be at Collective Con this year. And if you're looking to bring the family, or if you want to make a weekend out of it, you're in luck, because there'll be so much going on at Collective Con that weekend in the form of vendors, fan panels, video game tournaments, cosplay contests, after parties, and a bunch of fan events. You can purchase single and 3-day weekend passes now using the link in this episode's show notes, or by going to collectivecon.com to book your tickets and hotel. Buy your tickets now, and I'll see you at Collective Con, March 8th through the 10th. Now let's start the show.
Laufeyson, variant L1130, aka Loki Laufeyson, is charged with sequence violation 72089. How do you plead?
Madam, a god doesn't plead.
Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the Short Box Podcast, Season 6.
The Shortbox Podcast was recorded before a live internet audience.
Yo, Shortbox Nation, welcome to a special bonus episode all about Loki Episode 1. It was only right that we covered the debut of the new Disney Plus series of the same name, considering that we dropped a Loki comic spotlight episode earlier this week. That was episode 325. Give that a listen if you haven't. I promise you'll enjoy it. For this episode, though, I am joined by my best friend, my right-hand man here in the Shortbox studio with me. And overall, he's everyone's favorite podcaster of mischief. It's Mr. Andrew Torres.
Yo!
Back on the mic.
Andrew Luffy.
Yo, what up, D? What up, D? Sorry, that was a very
immediate.
that was a sharp cut off.
Cut the mic. Cut the mic.
I'll have to fade that in.
Yo, it's usually that's
post.
how it is when I do stand up. It's not funny.
Yeah, it's like clap,
No
clap.
clap.
All right, done. That was not funny. But anyways, Andrew was integral to in helping me recap the entire Falcon and Winter Soldier series when that was airing. So it was only right that Drew came back for the Loki debut. If you aren't familiar with these recent recap episodes, we like to have the episode playing along in the background while we chat, mainly for reference, so we'll occasionally stop to talk about certain scenes and characters that catch our attention. So watch along if you can, but it's not a requirement, so no worries if you're not by a TV. Let me go ahead and give a courtesy spoiler warning before we begin. If you haven't watched episode 1 of the Loki series, please do yourself a favor and pause this episode. Go watch Loki and come back, because we will be discussing important plot points and scenes going forward. But if you don't mind spoilers, or if you've already watched the episode, let's go ahead and proceed. We're going to go ahead and get started. We're pressing play on the episode right now. Boom. All right. Yeah, we got the Disney logo going, or snap as Drew.
Disney Pop.
Disney Pop. There we go. So this is episode 1, and it's titled Glorious Purpose, which I think is a fitting title for this episode, considering we've got to peel back some layers about Loki's psyche, his motivation as a character, and whatnot. The episode is directed by Kate Herron, who has worked with Idris Elba on the Idris Takeover for BBC 3. She's also directed some Netflix series like Sex Education and Daybreak. This episode is also written by Michael Waldron, known for his work on Rick and Morty, and he'll also be writing Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. So a lot of big name directors and writers as well. Drew, when you think about this episode, because we've already watched it once, this is kind of technically our second watch through.
Yes.
What's the most immediate, I guess, scene or moment that comes to mind when you think about this episode that has resonated with you?
Definitely towards the end where Loki finds the truth of where his life ends up.
That was interesting to watch.
Oh.
Like imagine
And he's by himself too, which is
we don't see too much of Loki by himself.
no.
We usually even in the like main MCU movies, you know, we only see him after he's done, you know, something, you know. Like granted there have been scenes by himself where, you know, we kind of see him plotting something or thinking of something, but we've rarely seen him in the moment, you know?
Yeah.
Especially not at least in moments of like, I think weakness. Those are rare. I mean, I think we might have seen a couple of scenes in like Ragnarok where he's been like emotional or, you know, especially concerning the death of Odin, his father, and
His mom.
Yeah, and his mom as
in
well.
the second movie.
But I think this was like a great scene in the sense that it was like focused strictly on Loki and him like reacting to like his life, you know? Because I think it's interesting that we get this series is focused on Loki from the first Avengers movie, so like 2012 era Loki, and it's cool that Tom Hiddleston was able to just kind of like
channel that,
and like seamlessly pick it up, which I imagine maybe I want to say maybe isn't that hard considering he's played the character for, you know, all these years, but like it felt like it was a seamless like jump from Avengers to this.
If I may add something, if you guys haven't seen this, Google Tom Hiddleston Loki at Comic-Con, because at some point he came on Comic-Con floor in character as Loki to announce movies.
Yeah.
And to me that was
That's
just
right.
like such a striking like moment in the sense of like, yo, he's really good. Like, I mean, I know he's a classically trained actor, but there's just no way I cannot there's no way that you could recast this guy.
No, I say that for a lot of these MCU. At this point, after whatever 10, how long has the MCU been around?
They've been on for a long
10
time, 10 years
plus
now,
years?
which is crazy to say. It's just like, yo. Also, another
If
thing is
not
when you
longer.
watch Tom Hiddleston, you could see that these actors have aged,
For sure.
especially him and Bucky. Like Tom Hiddleston and Bucky. Like I looked at Bucky and I was like, damn, Bucky,
Yeah, I was,
you are like, you've aged.
I told you I rewatched Infinity War last night just to kind of get spun. I was like, yo, I want to see like, you know, Loki's like death scene and how they kind of sent him off and things like that. And I forgot Bucky shows up in that movie because they go to Wakanda to kind of hide out and wait for Thanos' Black Order invasion. But Bucky has long hair in that. I'm like, oh my God, that is not a good look. For him. Like, I'm so glad they cleaned him up in Falcon and Winter Soldier. But shout outs to, like I said, this feels like such a seamless like carryover.
He picked him
from
right
the
back
Avengers.
up.
Yeah, like boom, we right here. It feels like tonally. I think that's what I'm trying to get at. It feels like the Loki that we were introduced to. You know, because Loki was kind of like on his world domination angle in Avengers. You know, that's where we really got to see him like really fuck shit up, for lack of better terms. You know,
You talk about Infinity War, but before I actually watched this show, and it's funny because people are like, what movies do you have to watch? Technically, all you have to do is watch Thor 1
Yep.
and Avengers, and then you can watch the show.
You don't think the second Thor or
No,
Ragnarok?
because they give you so much information about what's going on
Indeed.
here.
All right, I get that.
At that, because this is the Loki that you're messing with. You're messing with the Avengers. You're messing with the Avengers Loki. I mean, yes, it would be nice to have all this information and see where Loki ends up as like a grown up character, because like his character grows so much, and you're like, yo, I love and hate this dude so much. He's so lovable. But with this, where this is like, you're like, oh man, I can just watch the first and the Thor movie. It's just he plays such I would say a complex character. In the sense of because it wasn't until the Thor movie that he finds out, like, yo, like he was a little mischief, like he let the guards in and stuff like that, kind of just fucking around, testing the defenses. But then later on, he gets crucial information where he finds out where he's from and who he is.
I mean, as someone who ended up rewatching all the Thor movies like in the last month to get, you know, kind of ready and spun up, I was surprised. I'll be honest, I could not care for the Thor series prior to Ragnarok.
Really?
I remember Ragnarok being like different enough that I was like, huh, I really like this vibe. And I was not the biggest fan of Thor 1 and 2. But having rewatched Thor 1 and 2 recently, I still don't care about 2 that much. But Thor 1...
2 is definitely a hard... Like, 2 had the potential to be so much better.
I don't know what it... I think it was just...
It's because, you know what it was? It was the elves. It's elves with guns. It's elves with lasers. It's what it is. It's
I guess the... who's the... Malekith?
Malekith.
I think Malekith is the main
The Dark
villain.
Earth.
Yeah. It just wasn't a compelling
He has
villain.
to be more psychopath.
But Thor 1 to me, it's just like meeting Loki, like meeting them for the initial first time. It felt like watching a Hamlet play or something, right?
Oh,
like,
yeah, for sure.
Like a very like you're watching this play unfold.
Yeah, and they do a really good job of not making Loki all that bad through that entire movie.
Well, you feel kind of like, you feel for him, right? Like he finds out that, this father figure that I thought was my dad is not my father. I'm actually like
I'm a bastard. I'm a bastard child
to like giant like ice, giants. You know,
and it's like, dude, the disrespect. You raised me as your son.
And did he really love me, or was it like a was it an act of peace treaty?
Yeah.
And was I kind of in the middle?
Odin's like, no, like you are my son, and like, look, he's like, nah, like,
yeah, I will say he refuses to accept it in that movie. But I do want to highlight something you said. Even if you haven't watched the other MCU films, I do think that, to your point, it might behoove you to watch Thor 1 and Avengers, because I think that is really all you need. But this episode does such a good job of going through it, and they do a lot of exposition. I've been kind of paying attention to how the MCU decides to portray information, because you are dealing with a very rich history of characters and how they mingle into other properties and things. And this episode was a good example of that, where they're able to tell you the story in a very fun way. Like Owen Wilson. And I read somewhere where Owen Wilson, he did not feel like doing research in any of the Marvel comics or anything. He literally had, I think, like Tom Hiddleston. He went to Tom Hiddleston and was like, you give me the breakdown of the MCU. What do I need to know? Like, what's going on? So, and I think it showcased.
How do I make more money?
It showcased in this episode where they give you, Loki's literal, like his history in the MCU in a fun way. And what better frame or framing than to talk about, like, time, looking at his life both in the past and the future. I thought it was really interesting.
Yeah, because he's over 100 years old.
Yes, yeah.
He's like ancient.
And it's so fun to watch Loki in this episode, or Tom Hiddleston portray Loki in this episode, because, we're talking about, he's got like that classic Asgardian like snobbery to him, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like he's kind of like an Asgard snob, like, yo, I'm a god. I'm a god.
Yeah.
This TVA bullshit is nothing to me.
Yeah, like him and Kanye West have a lot in common. Like, I feel like Kanye West and Loki are probably just like, oh, yeah, like, But Kanye West is watching Loki right now, and basically like, that's me.
But he quickly learns that he is dealing with things much larger than himself. And I'll say, what
was your favorite part? I'm sorry.
No.
I'll
All good. I'm actually.
we're gonna get to me.
I'm going to talk a lot. But one of my favorite scenes was when Loki is running away from Owen Wilson's character, as well as Hunter B-15, played by Wonmi Mosaku. Hopefully, I'm saying that right. I apologize if I'm not. But when he's running away from them, and he finds Casey,
Fish boy.
Yeah, I don't know what a fish is. I'm helpless.
Fucking, like, yo, you fucking idiot.
But when he finds him and he opens up that drawer and there is a ton of Infinity Stones,
bro,
and he's like, "Yo, yeah, we used to use like for paperweights." Dude, I loved that.
You're like, yo,
because it set up the stakes, like the stakes of Thanos, the search for the Infinity Quest. It in that short amount of time quickly set up. The stakes are much higher going forward.
And you said
that was
yourself.
Kids play.
Yeah, that's what I say. Owen Wilson said it himself. Owen Wilson, when he's interviewing him, he's like, "What's your job?" He's like, "Oh, I find threats." And the guy's like, "Oh, I'm a threat." He goes, "No, you're not a threat. You're a pussy." He tells him, he's like, "Yo, you're a pussycat." Loki, this dude who basically wanted to take over the world and help Thanos like find the Infinity Stones. He's like, "Nah, that's not a threat. You just a pussycat." Like you are a house animal compared to the real shit that's going on.
And that's what I'm saying is that, this episode does a great, I don't think much happens. It's safe to say not much as far as like action or big moments. What this episode really does is puts Loki's character like literally under the magnifying glass. And Owen Wilson kills it by playing Mobius in that interrogation scene where it's like, we're trying to figure out, do you enjoy hurting people? Why do you do the things you do? It's almost like, in Falcon and Winter Soldier, where they were playing a lot off of like the psychology of them, right? Like having them have a psychiatrist and things like that, and to find out what makes them tick. But they do that with here as well, and almost, in my opinion, maybe even better in that short amount of time that Mobius talks with Loki, where he's like trying to break him down, and he's literally showing him these scenes, and he's asking him like to contest some of the things he's done.
He's like, let's show you your greatest hits. He's like, listen, what do we watch? He's like, greatest hits, and the first track is basically the Avengers.
No, for sure. And I want to say, just to clarify it,
I wish you would have shown him Fat Thor.
Oh, for sure.
Like, you want to see
you want to see some shit? Yeah, watch it. You know that
buff
ass
your brother. The brother you hate so much.
You know that buff ass brother that's always out doing you.
Look at this is him now, and he's just eating pizza.
And for the record, the MCU officially started in 2008 with the release of Iron Man. So it's been around for 13 years if you count. When you do the whole math. So about 13 years the MCU has been around. And talking about Loki's kind of greatest hits, I noticed on Disney Plus they have a Loki collection, like segment, like a little whatnot, but
mixtape.
Yeah,
a little Loki mixtape.
But it's got
it's
of
Loki,
course,
you know what I'm saying?
I think it's got the first 3 Thor movies. Sorry, it's got Infinity War, and of course it's got this Loki series the Loki series as well.
Bro, how great is Marvel Universe that you can just pick one character you like, and just you can watch a bunch of movies. At least 4 or 5 movies, and
of the big characters.
Like any of the characters, they have 4 or 5 movies under their belt easily. Pick a character
within the MCU.
Pick a character right now.
I was gonna say Vision, but I'm like,
Vision. You got Age of Ultron, basically.
Give me War Machine.
War Machine. Iron Man 2, Iron Man 3, Infinity War.
All right, you got it. You got it.
And then
that is a good point. No.
Any of these characters. Black Widow, Iron Man 2. Then you go from Iron Man 2 to, I think she shows up back in Avengers.
Yeah. She's in the Avengers, literally.
And then she goes to Captain America 2. And then from Captain America, that's what I'm saying. Any of these characters, you can follow them. And Loki's great because you can follow Loki by himself.
True.
You can follow Thor by himself. And you're going to get the same movies, but...
Well, I think that's the magic, I think, of the MCU. And I mean, I'm not just the MCU in film-wise, but also like the Marvel universe within the comic book, is that Stan and Jack and Steve Ditko were able to create this interconnecting world. Like at that time, no other, I think, comic books were doing a continuity like that, like a shared universe in that respect. I think there was instances prior to the Marvel launching or really getting off the ground.
Definitely just world building.
Yeah. So real quick, I want to reference the episode that we've got playing in the back. But this church scene where we're introduced to Mobius, I automatically was like, oh, this is cool. This is kind of like a murder mystery because, there's someone out here killing their Minutemen. Great name, by the way, for TVA, for soldiers.
And they're stabbed. Here's the thing. They're not being shot. They're being stabbed.
Yes.
That's what he said. He's like, yo, the stab wounds are consistent with the other stab wounds.
That's a good point.
And he's like, and the bomb never went off.
Which, I mean, that's Loki's primary weapon is that, sweet dagger moves he's got.
Stabbing McStabbers.
But I mean, when they showed that stained glass scene, and it was like the devil and this stained glass, I was like, "Oh, the Mephisto fan theories are going to be crazy,
their fucking mind."
And for those of you probably following,
we already
along,
know who the villain is.
Yeah, they say it. It's like Loki.
Yeah, he's like, "You're the villain." And you're like, "Oh, all right."
Do you? And this is where it gets kind of interesting. And this is what we brought up on this week's Loki comic spotlight. Is we covered the Kid Loki series.
I hope it's female Loki.
Yeah, I hope it's
a female. I hope
Lady.
It's
I'm gonna go. I prefer to call it Lady Loki because of the alliteration.
Yeah.
But
Lady, okay, I like
Lady
it.
Loki would be so tight.
That'd be sexy.
Because I liked
Tom Hiddleston in a wig.
I guess. Imagine Tom Hiddleston literally playing. Yeah, he's playing everybody. Loki. He's like
Eddie Murphy style. Like that's what I want. Like, oh shit.
I want to give a spotlight or a round of applause to Gugu Mbatha Raw, who plays Ravonna Renslayer, who's the judge in this scene where Loki's trying to judge, and it's such they play off each other so well. Like how do you plead? A god don't plead.
Yeah.
It's like yeah. We get it. You're a guy. You're a guy with a small G. That's what it is. That's what Loki. That's what Loki learned this episode was. I'm a small G guy.
I'm a lowercase G.
All right. I ain't big G guy.
Yeah, that's funny.
Everything about the supporting cast and like this world that they set up. From Owen Wilson playing Mobius, to Gugu playing the judge. One me playing the Hunter B-15 agent. One of my other scenes to note, but when Mobius is walking Loki out of the courtroom, and Loki gets to see the their world for the first time.
Yeah, did you see what was painted?
No, what was it?
Oh, when Loki's walking out, it says Sif.
What?
And I wanted to point out to you, I was like, SYF. Yeah. Like when he walks out, it'll be 3 red letters as he's looking out, and just look at it's just right there. It says Sif, and I'm like, I wonder why it says Sif.
Interesting. No, that's it. And here's the thing about those type of Easter eggs. Sometimes more than likely they don't mean.
I don't know.
More than likely they don't. Well, I'll be honest. I didn't catch
the kid. Whoever that kid is, that basically says like he name drops who he is, like who his father is. Huh? He's like, I'm from something circle. Or whatever. I'm like, oh, I wonder what that is.
I'll have to revisit that.
Because that kid is like, the one kid that they introduce is just to show like how serious they take this place. Like the one kid's like, did you take a number? He's like, I tried to.
Oh, okay. The dude that was like, yo, this ain't no deli. Yeah, I ain't taking no number. And he gets evaporated like a mofo.
Like, yo, you're fucking dead.
But to your point, that's what I'm saying. They set up like the bureaucracy of the TVA. And I like that tone where it's like everything about this place and this organization.
It's like a DMV department.
Bro, right?
Like I was like,
from the colors, like the browns, the muted.
I had to take my dad to the DMV today. Like Sif right there, you'll see it right there.
You're right, it's little graffiti.
Like it just SYF, and it's I'm like, yo, why is it there?
That's a good point. It could mean nothing, but it could be something.
I don't know.
But they set up this setting in this world really well. Like, and by using Loki, I think you get a sense of how serious this group and this organization is, and like the world that he stepped in, where to your point, they can evaporate to read you, and they're out here pruning because they use that a couple times. Pruning timelines,
bushes,
like not existence reality.
But that's how they treat it, because the whole theme behind there is everything's a tree. Like if you look at any of the backdrops, those 3 dudes are always standing in front of a tree.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, this is how life works. Life is a tree.
I mean, look how beautiful this city. I mean, like this world that they live in is. It's like
no fish in sight.
Well, there ain't no water. Like they're floating in space or wherever they're at. Like you can't blame the guy.
This is Matthew McConaughey. This is like, if I see Matthew McConaughey is like floating, like floating, it's like Murph. I'm like, oh shit,
that'd be a tight cameo. Like, to see Matthew McConaughey of Interstellar floating along.
Look, he's like, who's that? Like,
he's lost in time. Yeah. We're about to prune his ass next. He's
getting it way worse.
Well, let me ask you this. Because as fans of the comics and as folks who read a lot of this material, were you familiar with the TVA prior to this show?
No,
I was not neither.
Not at all.
And I'm pretty hyped to be in a situation where I'm learning about this group and seeing how they unfold them. Because I have nothing to base it off of.
The only thing I know time wise is from the DC perspective, which those
are dangerous letters to bring up on an MCU episode.
Well, because DC does the Time Masters.
Yes.
And that's Booster Gold, Skeets,
yep.
Rip Hunter. Like I'm used to that, like that aspect of that.
Do you like when comic books do the whole time
absolutely
travel?
I love being fucked with emotionally. The time travel is like, to me, it
could
cool.
be a little complex. It's hard to follow.
It's definitely complex and fun. But what's really cool about the time stuff is like if they do it with such grace and make it like meaningful and just dope. DC has done it plenty of times where they're doing the time stuff, and I will tell you right now, the time travel stuff in the Marvel universe, because we get that like the time stuff in the Endgame. In Endgame, it's all time travel and stuff like that. Fun, really, really fun. It's because it's all theoretical, and it's like, all right, cool. Like I know for a fact that it's all timey-wimey and it's crazy. And
I will say, Endgame explained it really well about, and I think that was our first taste. I think that was them setting up what Phase 4 and the rest of the MCU, at least this particular these next batches of movies will be about.
Yeah,
I think we already know Kang the Conqueror is going to be involved.
I mean, I'm waiting for him to show up. I'm waiting for this dude to show up, and I want to see it. I really hope they go full purple with it. The fact that they're doing all this time stuff and multiverse and everything's on the table. I could take every comic book now from Marvel Universe and put it on the table.
I wouldn't be surprised if they start doing alternate versions of characters.
Yeah.
An alternate Captain America from a different timeline.
Do you want to see that?
For sure.
Because then you got because now you're talking about the Exiles. And that right there is a deep cut. That's a deep cut.
That might be a little.
But back to it. Okay, so we watched Loki a lot because Loki in a lot of his movies had a lot of redeeming factors.
Yo, this is Badr. Sorry for interrupting this episode, but I'll keep it brief. I wanted to let you know about a massive sale we have going on over at the Shortbox Store on all of our merchandise and apparel. That's theshortboxstore.bigcartel.com. You can now save 20% off your entire order using the discount code YOO, Y-O-O. So if you've been waiting for the right time to finally buy that gauntlet snapback, or if you ever wanted to buy any of the shirts you see me wear on the podcast, well, now's your chance to get them for a steal. We still have a few sizes left of everything, but they won't last long, and once they're gone, they are gone. And then I mentioned that all of our apparel is screen printed on high quality material. None of that heat transfer or direct to garment stuff. Our shirts are some of the most comfortable ones you'll ever wear, and the hats look even better in person. So wear your support for the Shortbox Nation proudly, knowing that you're going to look damn good doing it. Get to theshortboxstore.bigcartel.com as soon as you can, and don't forget to use that discount code YOO, Y-O-O, to save 20% off your entire order. All of this information can be found in this episode's show notes if you want to get there faster. Thanks for not pressing fast forward. Now back to the show. You know what? Well, that brings me to my next question for you.
Loki 1, 2, or 3.
When you think of Loki in the MCU space, what is your favorite, I guess, like scene or moment of Loki from the MCU?
Favorite scene?
Yeah,
or
across the MCU. What's your favorite movie? Maybe favorite movie he's been in, or favorite moment or scene that he's had?
Right now, I can probably pick 10 of them. But right now, right off rip, was when Chris Hemsworth, when they finally kidnapped Loki in the Avengers movie, right?
Okay.
And then Chris Hemsworth's Thor character breaks onto the Quinjet, and he rips it open and grabs Loki. And then he's pleading to his brother at that point. He's like, stop all this bullshit and come home. I want you to come home. Stop. I am your brother. And then Loki's like, nah, I'm not going back. Yo, you can never go back home. You can never go back home. Once you leave home, you can never go back home. It's not home anymore. He's like, nope. He's like, nah, I'm good. And then there's that scene where Iron Man like grabs Thor, and then Loki goes, I'm listening. Like that scene was like, to me, that was so perfect. Like that comedy, the bit of where he's like, I'm listening.
Yeah.
And then it's just like, oh, okay, cool. Like, what's going on? Like that scene right there to me was such a powerful scene because me and you have brothers. And
it's like, yo, I'm trying to get through your hard head. Please, just
that's what I'm saying.
Let me save you all the world of trouble if you would just listen.
Listen
to 50% of what I say.
Please, just get a fucking job. You know what I'm saying? But it's not, and that's what hurts. It's just definitely like, yo, it sucks. And like,
well, having watched, I think only because it's fresh in my mind, having watched Infinity War literally yesterday, when Thanos gives him the option, like, I'm going to kill your brother or you tell me, where the stone is. And Loki's like, I could care less. And Thanos starts torturing him.
Kill that blonde
right. And he starts torturing him. But, Loki's like, all right, stop. I'll tell you what you need to know. I thought like the way he died, even though it wasn't like super long drawn or a crazy moment, the fact that they killed Loki in the beginning, I think really set the bar high for
people crying.
For like exactly, because it's like we've been watching Loki throughout, Thor 1, 2, Avengers, all this stuff. Like slowly, he gives you moments where he's like, oh, he does care. All right, he is. Some things do get through to him.
Misunderstood.
Yeah, right. And it's like no matter how evil he thinks he is, he still would not let his brother, go all the way. Now he'll watch his brother get beat up and whatnot. But
sometimes you gotta watch your brother get his ass beat.
But you know what? You draw the line in the sand at somewhere. Hey, man. All right,
man, all right, cool. He's had enough.
I was playing with you. All right.
All right.
But I thought the way he goes down, and then even how it impacts Thor was something to note. Because that gets to Thor. Because at this point, Thor has lost a lot.
Not a lot.
Everybody.
Everything.
You're right.
Everything. 'Cause in the first movie, Prince, Mjolnir, Kingdom, Sif. I got my 3 boys with me. We the Warriors 3.
Gone.
Dad's doing good.
Gone.
Mom's health is awesome.
Gone.
I live on this planet that's self-sustaining.
Gone. So real quick, looking back at the show playing.
Oh, I looked up this character.
DB Cooper
is a real character.
It's a real thing. It's I don't know the full story. I gotta.
I can tell you. I just Wikipedia.
Give me like the quick.
It's everything
version.
you can say right now. It was a guy that went into the air. He basically did everything that Tom Hiddleston's doing.
I got a bomb on the plane.
Got a bomb on the plane. Made off with a fuck ton of money, and then got back on the plane. Because it was like he basically held all 42 passengers hostage.
Okay.
Says, I'll blow up this plane unless you give me money. They gave him money. He gets back in air, jumps.
Baller.
Like
that's some badass shit. They couldn't find the body,
They
right?
couldn't find the body.
Or the money.
In 1980, this boy was out hiking with his family or whatever, and he found like 2 stacks.
Damn.
2 stacks, and those are the bills. They traced it to where it's like this.
Oh, no way.
So then it basically sent up a little bit of the fact that he's like, you're DB Cooper.
I can't believe you're DB Cooper.
Yeah, which is crazy.
Which is cool. It's like, how much more could they do with that, right?
Oh,
like,
a fuck ton.
Think about all the other.
And it was a bet. He was like, yo, what happened? He's like, I lost a bet with my brother. And he's like, yo. Which is funny to me because it's like, yo, you have 2 dudes that are like, yo, I want you to go to Midgard.
Well, it shows that, even Thor kind of played into him being mischievous. It's like his sense of mischief isn't always dangerous. They tend to have some fun, and I think it paints like it paints him and his brother and their relationship in a positive light. It's like, yo, what? You've done some stupid shit. You've made your little brother do some stupid shit.
The funniest thing is the FBI came up and they were like, oh, the theory is that he died. Like the DB Cooper died and never was able to safely land because he jumped high altitude or whatever. But I was like, man, you just salty. That's the FBI just being really salty. It's just like people are like, hey man, did you guys have it? He died. He's dead. We confirmed that
for sure
dead.
he's dead.
If he's not dead now,
sure?
he should be dead by
Where's
now.
The body?
Yeah, if he's dead, if he's died of impact, he probably died of old age.
Yeah.
But it's still unsolved. That's what's crazy. But MCU.
Well, now we
was
solved it for you.
Oh yeah, we got it. I bet FBI agents watching this going, "Fuck."
I was thinking about Loki in the comic book sense, right? Because I was like, man, I haven't read a lot of Thor, but the Thor I have read primarily
because you've read a lot of Thor.
I've say fairly, right? I think that the most significant Thor resonates with me in a comic book sense is that 2007 Thor relaunch with J. Michael Straczynski, Oliver Coipel, and the introduction of Lady Loki.
As the Thor turns.
Yeah, right.
That basically was basically I don't know, give me some digest fucking things like The Young and the Restless. As the world turned.
Yes.
The real world. Thor. This is the most dramatic. It was like.
Well, I remember it being very slow.
Soap opera.
Yeah, they had to. It was like Thor. Once again, he lost everything. It was Ragnarok, so everything disappeared.
Goes to Oklahoma.
Or
who moves to Oklahoma?
Right. But
Oklahoma.
But I remember thinking wow, Lady Loki. They brought back Loki as a woman. Okay, cool. But it didn't. To be honest, it doesn't matter what form Loki is in, whether he be a lady, a kid, or any of the other forms he's taken. The core of the character is someone that's going to cause mischief and more than likely move the story along and put the characters in an interesting predicament. And I started thinking, man, this episode does a really good job of painting Loki as a central key figure in the MCU, primarily with the Avengers. He is the reason the Avengers formed together. Much like the comic books way back, in the 60s.
The first person that they fought was Loki.
And do you know the basic premise of Avengers #1?
No.
I'll give you this. And I'll give a quick high-level recap. Loki in Avengers #1 is hoping to best his brother Thor. And he does so by putting out basically a lie about the Hulk, that he is on a rampage, he is tearing shit up, because he needs to he wants to defeat Thor, not Donald Blake, who was Thor's alter ego at that time. He needs to make a big scene to where Donald Blake transforms into Thor, and then he can beat him. So he ends up spreading like this lie about Hulk that he's rampaging through town.
Fox News, man.
Fake news, right?
Fake
He's
news.
there you go. Loki was the original fake news.
No, definitely fake news.
So he's spreading these lies about Hulk.
Tweeting.
Yeah, he's spreading these lies about Hulk, and Rick Jones hears about it, and he's like, "What? No way!" So Rick Jones,
Who?
Rick Jones,
Who?
Rick Jones. That's pretty good. Rick Jones wants to reach out to the Fantastic Four, so he sends like a radio signal to them, but Loki intercepts it, sends it to Donald Blake. Donald Blake, of course, transforms into Thor, but that radio signal also went to Hank Pym, the Wasp, and Iron Man. So they all meet up, to find the Hulk. Loki shows up. He transforms he becomes radioactive or some shit.
Yeah.
But they manage to throw him into like this lead-based cell and et cetera, et cetera. And then the Avengers are formed. They're like, oh, we make a pretty good team. So it's like, man, this character has been integral in forming like possibly one of the greatest superhero groups besides like Justice League, in my opinion, but forming one of the greatest superhero teams in comic books ever. And in the MCU,
they needed a threat to roll behind.
And in the MCU, and I think in the MCU they make him a bigger threat because when you look at that story, it's like, okay, it's just him being mischievous. This joke, this prank that he had planned goes wrong. But
he put out a really weird news.
But Loki is not to be messed with, and that's what this first episode paints. It's like, here is Loki and how serious of a threat he really is. Now let us show you how minuscule he is in the grand scheme of things. Like, I really enjoyed watching his psyche kind of be challenged and broken. Like, not only of the line of questioning that Mobius gives him, which is like, yo, do you enjoy hurting people? Like, why do you do the things you do? What is your end goal? Like, I liked that line of questioning. Like,
I want
okay,
a kingdom. He's like,
yeah,
all right,
exactly.
Cool.
Like, okay,
kingdom of what?
Now you're king. Now what? It was cool to watch Loki
He's
like
you're so smart. And
yeah,
like, I am smart.
to process this. Like, yeah, I guess what would I do? And his justification, and then learning like, oh look, here in the TVA we run shit. That even like this guy who believes that he is a god, that he is above everyone else.
He calls him mischievous scamp.
I like that too. Yeah, but like this god is humbled. He's like, wait a minute, no, all my actions are my own. No, like I'm not following some preordained destin. And it's like, you kind of are. I think that is interesting, man. Like that Loki's psyche and confidence is broken, and he has that moment with Mobius where he's like, yo, look, I don't enjoy hurting people. Like, yo, he just watched his life unfold. I got my mom killed. My dad died, and then I ended up dying by the dude who I was supposed to serve in the beginning. Mm-hmm. Like, it's this episode impressed the hell out of me, man.
He's like, I'll fucking cut you like a fish, Casey.
I'll cut you like a fish, Casey.
What's a fish? How are you supposed to threaten somebody that doesn't know what you're threatening him with?
I've never thought about that in the sense of, knock on wood, hopefully I'd never get threatened like that. But maybe if you just question the threat, you're like, maybe you can get out of the situation.
Here's your favorite scene right here, where it's basically
God.
He gives him the Tesseract. He's like,
which at this point, you got to keep in mind, to Loki, this was everything. So to have him humbled, like, oh wait, you've got a fucking drawer full of Infinity Stones?
He's like, oh yeah, these things are cool. He's like, oh yeah, these things? Yeah, we have a lot of those. Does he take any of them?
No, that's the thing. He realizes, well, shit, you guys are using it as paperweights. None of this is worth it. Well, I mean, he does say he does try the Tesseract a few times. He's like, yo, did you try to use that? Yeah, I tried. It don't work here.
He's like, it doesn't. Like, this is outside of time and space. In this moment, he's not saying anything. It's literally just him going through all the emotions.
Yeah, like being humbled by, the greatest power in the universe is time. Like, yeah, that's cool. It's like, yes, that, like, you've always heard the saying, time is the most valuable thing you've got. Well, even for a god, it is the most powerful thing. It is enough to humble him. Like, oh, damn, never mind. You guys have control of time. I had control of certain aspects of it, but,
Like, damn.
But what I was saying was, I think this episode helps give different categories of, like, I think power levels are godhood, right? You've got, like, Asgardians who think that, they're the top notch. But then you've got characters like Thanos who belong to the Eternals, which we'll probably find out more, Like, they're doing a good job of expanding, like, these very high-level concepts, like Asgardians, Eternals. Now you've introduced, like, the TVA and, like, the Timekeepers. So it's like, okay.
Yeah, Thanos just won. He just won. He's one of many things that are coming for.
Speaking of Thanos, this happens, this is essentially Marvel's first villain-centric project. the first project they've got where a spotlight is on the villain, right?
Unless you consider Scarlet Witch a villain.
Well, she was not introduced as a villain. She's kind of like
she was introduced as a villain.
No, she literally helped Tony Stark in the beginning.
She literally was a villain in the second movie, Age of Ultron. She fought the Avengers. She joined Ultron, and then later on was like, then she
Wait.
Scarlet Witch started off as a villain.
In the MCU movies?
Yes.
Wait, when?
Are you?
Yeah, give me the history lesson. Maybe I'm missing something.
Who messed with people's minds? Scarlet Witch. She fucked up Bruce Banner's memories, and that's why he went all crazy and hulked out. What? Scarlet Witch and Pietro started off as villains in the MCU.
Oh, I'm sorry. For some reason, I thought you said Black Widow. I apologize.
No, Scarlet Witch. This is a different redhead. This is different redhead. Different redhead.
All right. I was having a moment where I was like, yo, did I miss all of this? Like, how did I miss
what did I do?
All right.
I mean, technically, spying for your boss and lying to them is technically villainous. I mean, I got an ex-girlfriend that told me that lying is wrong.
Is Scarlet Witch really the villain when, from her perspective, she was simply getting back at the people who killed her family?
Is Loki the villain from his perspective?
Loki has definitely done some fuck shit. He has definitely done some fuck shit. Like we spent the whole episode learning about all the stuff he's done.
Fuck shit he did.
So but I bring it up that this is Marvel's first villain-centric project. Ooh. Would you want to see more villain-centric projects from Marvel?
If you
but who would you want to see?
For villain?
And if you could pick, I'll let you pick past villains too.
Past villains?
Because I will say that's one thing about the MCU that it gets a lot of flack that their villains aren't always the most fleshed out.
Killmonger.
What would you want to see though? Like if you could do a 6-episode, limited series, Disney Plus series about one villain, to flesh them out a little more. Who would you pick? So would it be still Killmonger?
Not because Black Panther did such a good job of basically giving you everything that you needed.
And that's what I'll say.
But at a certain point, like I don't hate Killmonger. I hate the fact that they killed him.
Well, I think that is said a lot about the villains in the MCU is that they're either one-dimensional, they killed them off too quickly, or they literally just kill them off in the same movie.
Yeah.
There isn't a lot of villains that have carried over. So to your point, I think it's kind of tough to choose one villain because what a lot of these Marvel movies does is they give you the whole backstory. They're like, yo, this is their backstory, here's their purpose, and now they're gonna help our hero get to become who they are. But who would you want to see like kind of fleshed out more?
Here's the thing: does this person already have to exist, or can it be just a whole new character?
Gotta be existing.
Existing?
Because if it's a new character, give me a new character.
Okay, because here's the thing: they've already given me 2 characters that I absolutely love that I thought was good. Baron Zemo, one of them. Baron Zemo was a character that's a villain that by the end of Falcon Winter Soldier, to me, he's not a villain as much as he's a gray area. Actually, Ultron. I would love to see them do another Ultron movie. Or not Ultron movie, like I would love to see Ultron come back. But if we're talking about new characters, like new villains, oh man, the Thunderbolts.
You know who I would like to see? Or with a series. Like not even a full series. Maybe give me like an hour special or something. Once again, comes back because I just literally watched, Infinity War for the, I think, 5th time already yesterday. But,
that's not enough.
But I'm curious about that time gap.
Infinity stuff.
There's a time. I'm curious about that time gap. How many years passed between Infinity War or the snap and then Endgame? It was like what 3-5 years, I think, within continuity, something like that, right? Some years had passed before they decided to go after Thanos. I'm curious about what Thanos was up to. Like, yes, I know that when we see him in Endgame, he's on a farm, he's retired,
yeah, my boy had
he's making soup, But I wonder if he
busted wing.
Yeah, I'm curious if he traveled. I would like to see a series where he's kind of like traveling off world to different planets to see that unfold, like to see what the consequences of his actions were, to like see if he got humbled, if because he snapped half of life out of existence, and I wonder if he feels any remorse if he went through it. Like it'd be cool to see that. Or the other thing I was thinking too is the fall of Titan, his home world. Because in Infinity War he does say, this is my home planet Titan. When he's fighting, Guardians of the Galaxy, the Iron Man, and Doctor Strange. But the planet's already like busted up. It's already like in ruins. I think they might tackle that in Eternals about how Titan fell. But that'd be kind of cool as a like a limited series, like Thanos destroying Titan or whatever it may be. That'd be my pick.
For villains.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I think so.
That's
I
good.
think they kind of
That's a good one. I'm very I like that one.
Do you think? Are you with me in the sense back to Loki episode 1? Are you with me that the quality is so good and like the camera quality?
I was texting. I was texting a bunch of everything about this thing just looks good.
It feels like there's some money behind it.
There's
I mean,
fucking money
granted,
behind this.
it's not surprising because I think Kevin Feige has gone on record to say like, "Hey, we are treating this like any other big budget project or movie. This is getting that same treatment, same love." And to your point, I remember we discussed this on the Loki Comic Spotlight episode, but I think Loki was the one. I want to say, hopefully I'm right, but Loki was the one that they used to announce, "Hey, we're doing these Disney Plus series, and the actors that portrayed the original characters will be doing these." Mm-hmm. Does it still like impress you that we are seeing essentially a TV series? Granted, it's streaming, but a TV series using characters from the MCU.
Yes.
That is still impressive to me.
It does impress me, and I would say the reason why I think a lot of this is okay with it is because of British television. I think because of the way that British television, it shows that like a lot of these British actors, like they can do a major movie and then go, I want to do a TV show. No problem. Because like
Idris Elba comes to mind.
Definitely Idris Elba comes to mind. That'd be another character that I would love to just see. Hemdall. I know he's not a villain.
Yeah. What shit has he seen with them eyes?
For real.
Real quick, I'm going to interject only because the episode playing is coming to an end. So we're at that scene where the Minutemen are in Oklahoma in 1858 or something like that. And they're like, some jackass stole the time machine and thought he'd get rich off oil. Who do you think? So we both think, we both hope it's Lady Loki as the variant that's out here killing these dudes.
Yeah.
Is there anyone else that it could possibly be?
That's not Loki?
That's not. Well, I mean, granted, he said it is Loki, but do you think there's another version?
No.
I'm pretty strong on the Lady Loki, only because I think the build, it's not like some brolic, person or whatnot, and the way that they move too. I think I've seen like a trailer where this hooded figure is fighting with the daggers, and it's very like smooth, it's very like agile. Someone like maybe a little more lean or something.
Okay.
So I'm gonna stick with like Lady Loki, but I also wouldn't be surprised if it's. I also would not be surprised. It'd be surprising. Maybe I don't know. Surprising, maybe not surprised. But Loki from Endgame, if he somehow managed to escape, like he managed to escape, and he's trying to go back in time to either like find a way to revive himself or come back to the main continuity or not. Mm-hmm. But that would probably be the only other person I can think of.
Okay. I honestly would just strongly agree that it's Lady Loki in the sense of because they keep talking about all the time variants and the fact that like there is like one small thing will send it all off and then it'll be a multiverse war. And then the second movie for Doctor Strange is like something in the multiverse.
I'm telling you, it's Multiverse of Madness.
Multiverse of Madness.
I think Doctor Strange picks up from, of course, WandaVision. And I think this show will lead into not only Multiverse of Madness, but also, Ant-Man and it's Quantumania.
Yeah, Quantumania.
Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania.
Which I'm excited. Between those two movies, I'm actually excited about that one.
Dude, I mean, think about it. This next phase of MCU films, if Kang ain't the big baddie, which I don't see how they could not put him in that position, especially as someone who, that is all he does. He dabbles with time travel, different time streams and things like that. I'd be very surprised if Kang is not the big baddie. But we are obviously going to get. I mean, they're setting up the whole premise of like, the time stream is broken in different ways. Not only just Loki, but you've also got to think about, because Loki brings it up, like now the Avengers are the ones that went.
Yeah,
back in
that's
time.
the part I like about it.
Which of course is like, the blame ain't on me; it's on these guys.
Yeah.
But like, because you've got to that resonated with me in the sense of like. The Avengers took it upon themselves to also try to course correct time and like the events that happened. So there's got to be, I mean, like all time movies, their actions have, there's going to be an equal reaction.
Yeah, because Steve is going back into time and fixing everything.
So I wonder if at some point we see the return of some of these characters, whether it be Tony Stark from the dead or a different version of him or a different version of Captain America. Like there's so much to play around with.
Would you rather see time travel, like just time travel, and then they go to different parts of the world, or would you rather just see some different alternate universe?
Alternate
Alternate universes.
I would love
versus
to see
time travel.
alternate. No, why? I feel like they can tie that in.
They can definitely time travel, but it's like when you time travel, it's like, oh, I want to go to the past. But then there's like, no, like if you time travel, there's like, no, I want to go to an alternate universe where Captain America is a woman.
Alternate universe, only because it'd be so cool to see different versions of these characters that we've been watching for 13 years. But I would love to see them like have some fun with like introducing different versions of characters. Bringing on actors that you've always wanted to see and playing like even if they play these small roles, even if they don't dive into it, but just like a little. Oh, this is Captain America from this universe. Oh, this is this amalgam of this character, or this this character from this universe. Like that'd be cool.
Imagine
Man.
Avengers Forever.
And oh man, I was gonna ask you what's one of your favorite. If you had to give, because the episode's pretty much done, credits are rolling and whatnot.
This is all for the fans.
Well,
this is for the real ones.
I wanted to, for the folks that stay past 45 minutes.
Yeah, for real. Thank you for listening.
What are some of your? Let's wrap up with comic book recommendations. So if there's someone that watched Loki episode 1 and they're like, man, I want to read some comics about Loki, or I want to read some Marvel comics about time travel and things similar to this, or related to time variance, blah blah blah. What would you recommend? What are some of the comics that come to mind?
Comics that come to mind. So you have like 3 of them that I know for a fact come to mind. I would not. I would have to honorably mention Al Ewing's Loki, Agent of Asgard.
Nice. Okay. Ashley actually brought that up on Wednesday's episode.
Great team, because Lee Garbett is probably one of my favorite artists of all time, and you recognize him because he did The Outsiders with Peter J. Tomasi.
For sure.
And he's a character. He's an artist that I'm like, man, this guy needs to do more work. And the fact that they don't do more work with him is very upsetting.
He's real good.
So that would probably be the first one that comes to mind.
And real quick, is Agent of Atlas...
Agent of Asgard?
Agent of Asgard, sorry. Is that essentially kind of like a similar plot, where he's kind of like doing different missions?
Kind of, yeah, because what's his name? They mentioned some characters in Agent of Asgard, because it's one of those like Loki. It's the Loki story where he's trying to do good.
Okay,
where
cool.
He's like, all right, I gotta do like he's like, because the first scene starts off with him stabbing Thor, and he's like, you're probably wondering why I'm stabbing my brother, and it's not what you think.
Okay,
and it's like he's like, I'm doing it, blah blah blah. So
right.
that one right off rip.
All right, Agent of Asgard.
Jason Aaron, I would tell you right now, Jason Aaron's probably done a lot of Loki stuff that is he's been writing for the last how many ever years, and that whole he's made Loki amazing in the Mighty Thor, in Thor Unworthy.
I was about to ask, I think it's safe to say that recommendation could just you can almost roll it up one level and just say, find anything Thor related by Jason Aaron. And you'll be fine.
Yeah, and then the second one would probably be
third one.
The third one, the honorable mention, is the first volume of Jason Aaron's Avengers. And the reason why is because it does a really good shout out that Loki talks about how he's the greatest Avenger of all time.
Huh.
It's cool. Like, it's definitely really cool because it's.
Can you give me like just a recap or of what
Loki
he said?
starts another, like, it's Loki that starts another Avengers event because he's like,
That's
hey,
cool.
Listen, you always need the Avengers, and like, I am the reason why the Avengers are. He's like the secret Avenger. He's basically told himself, he's like, I'm the greatest Avenger. If you really think about it,
all this.
yeah, because without him, there's nothing. There's no team. There's nothing to go behind it. There's nothing solid. And so that's why when I saw Jason Aaron and Loki talks about like, yeah, I'll be the villain. Like, I'll be whatever you need me to be and stuff like that. But like, don't.
And that's kind of similar to how Loki's attitude in the show is, where he's like, no, like he's so self-righteous in his mind. Like his cause is like, no. I'm trying to free people of essentially like free will. Like because free will means that they make mistakes, regrets.
Bro,
I'm trying to keep it easy for them.
When you said that, like, honestly, straight up, that whole speech where he's talking about, like, free will leads to mistakes. Mm-hmm. Mistakes lead to regret. And the entire time he's talking to him, I'm just thinking about every mistake I've ever made that led me to where I was. And I was like, damn. I was like, fuck. I was like, yeah, he's not lying. Like, he's really not lying.
You over here like, vote for Loki. Loki for president. Take the free will away.
I was like, you know what? I like good and green.
I will go ahead and recommend. I will recommend my go-to time travel Avengers comic book, which I think personally for me it might be in my like top 10, 20 comic books of all time, and that is Avengers Forever.
Who wrote that?
By Kurt Busiek.
And who drew it?
Artist Carlos Pacheco. I never say his name right, but it's It is a 12-issue miniseries and is essentially about the Avengers going through time and different alternate realities and meeting different versions of Avengers. Not only different versions, but also past and present and future Avengers. And Kang, of course, is at the center of the story. And I have a strong feeling that they might make reference to that or incorporate some of that into this phase. I don't know in what capacity or what. I think that might be more hopeful wishing, but it is.
Do you want to see Rick Jones?
I feel like it is crazy that we have not gotten Rick Jones, who has played such a pivotal role in those early Marvel comics.
He's like my pal Jimmy Olsen. He's that level of that.
There's
Rick Jones, and then there's my pal Jimmy Olsen.
That is a good point. The fact they haven't incorporated Rick Jones, who would be, I think, a great perspective from like just a
human.
Well, I mean, you got a bunch of humans. You got on the team, right? You got Hawkeye, Black Widow.
Yeah,
but I'm saying from a I get that. The fact they haven't included Rick Jones is interesting because he could play the voice of like I think the audience from like someone who is your everyday Joe Schmo thrown into like the Avengers and helping them where he can. Like he is amongst gods and other high caliber people, and he's just like, where do I fit in? How do I help?
Yeah.
That would be cool. I would, because Rick Jones does play a big role in that.
They give those moments. They give a lot of those moments to Hawkeye. A lot of like the most humanizing. Like, hey, listen, I'm a guy. There's lasers. I'm just shooting bows.
Well, I will give you this. When you said that Hawkeye had one of the best speeches in the MCU, when he gave that speech, that pep talk to a young Scarlet Witch in Age of Ultron, where he's like, "Look," and I'm paraphrasing. Watch the movie for the better speech, but he's like, "Yo, look. I am dealing with robots, lasers, shit well beyond my, my scope, but I'm an Avenger, and when I get that call, I got to step up."
Yeah,
so you want to do the job?
That guy knows how to do his job. Because me, when work asks me to do stuff that's outside my pay grade, I go, "You don't pay me for that." And then Hawkeye out here just shooting robots. I'm like, "Yo, that's a real hero right there."
Imagine telling Tony Stark or Captain America, "Yo, that's not on my pay grade. Y'all don't pay me for that." Or you'd get the boot out of the Avengers so fast.
Oh, hell yeah. Don't ever hook me up with Captain America. If you ever put me in Captain America, it's just like...
Do you think they ever have asked, like, the young... I guess, like, because you got, like, the OG Avengers, and then you had that second class. So, like, a Falcon and Scarlet Witch and Spider-Man. Do you think they've ever asked them, like, the floor needs mopping. Someone needs to mop Avengers HQ. You think they ever ask any of the actual Avengers to do shit like that?
No. Tony Stark would be like,
yeah, for sure. He probably built some shit.
Where's my Jarvis box?
For sure. He probably built something. All right, Drew, do you want to share any last minute comments about Loki episode 1? Are you excited for what goes forward? You got any theories? Anything you want to
Dude,
share?
it's just like, I'm here for the ride. It's so funny that we're here now. I mean, we started off with the Scarlet Witch, then we moved on to Bucky. And then we've gotten a couple other shows in between. But now we're watching Loki, and it's just like, man, this is fun. We got the announcement. I knew how we felt about like everything that's going on. The only thing that's next that I think is going to hit us the hardest is that What If.
I'm looking forward to What If, only because it will be vastly different in the sense of like literally from a visual sense. It's animated.
It's multiverse.
They're dealing with multiverse. And I have no expectation of them tying it into the MCU and the Phase 4 and what's going on with the live action. But I would not be surprised if they find a way. Mm-hmm. If they're able to say, hey, this is the story of alternate MCU film or alternate MCU realities from the MCU, and find some way to like tie, like reference it in the live action.
I do have a question, and only because like now that we're talking about all these different universes, did they say that there's only one universe, or is there a multiverse? Well, because I remember there's like they were saying that
a bunch of timelines
happen, and then it was a multiverse war.
Sure. Well, I think where they might go with this is that because of all these time branches that they've been creating, I wouldn't be surprised if they say, hey, you guys have, thanks to you guys have fucked up the time stream, and there's all these multiverses. There's all these branches of times now, and I mean I think that's why they introduced the TVA. Like. They're dealing with variants. They're pruning timelines. So we've already been introduced to some of these alternate realities, but I wonder how many of them are, have the Avengers or have, heroes or whatnot. So I'm curious where that goes. I think this show will be important to watch. I'm not saying anything negative about Falcon and Winter Soldier because I enjoyed it, But I think in regards to moving the MCU machine and you know, beast that it is along to the next, you know, big baddie, the next plot points, I think this one will be important to watch. Much like WandaVision, where it's like, okay, they introduce some interesting themes and concepts. We'll see that payoff in Doctor Strange. I think this will be another case of that. I will go ahead and wrap up and say episode 1 really impressed me. I went in with, like, you know, pretty decent expectations. Like, this will be good. But
damn,
it hit differently, man. Only because it's like Tom Hiddleston is such a good actor, and he's playing a character that you love to hate. You're like, man, Loki is such a mischievous scamp. So to see him, like, you know, to see him, like, maybe potentially turn a leaf, and at least in this episode, you know, like by the end he's gonna do something to flip the tables. I'm here for it, man. Like, it feels like a crime thriller, a sci-fi. It's got like elements of sci-fi.
Men in Black meets Stranger Things. That's what I said. It's Men in Black.
That's not
meets
a bad
Stranger
one.
Things.
For sure, I get the Men in Black vibe. I see that, the bureaucracy of everything.
Oh yeah, Men in Black is just like, yo, they're in a place that's like, you know, you got the G-men walking around. Stranger Things is because, like, it. I would not be reminiscent because Stranger Things gives you that sound, like the soundtrack that they're using, the way that the camera moves.
To me, it feels like Men in Black is really good. Actually, a really good spot on. But I also get a feeling of like Blade Runner in the sense of that kind of like futuristic, once again, like that bureaucracy and whatnot. Granted, they're dealing with more so of time, but throwing like some Doctor Who too. I think we're going to get like some Doctor Who.
Yeah, and when Loki's like, yo, he's like, what's going to happen? Well, if you're a robot, you'll die. And he's like, well, how do you know if you're a robot or not? And he's like, well,
this machine will evaporate the hell out of you.
The part that I'll mention before we get off is that picture that it took of him.
Oh yeah.
Where he's like, what is this? He's like, this is your aura or whatever. And I was
temporal
trying to,
aura.
temporal aura. And he's like, well, what's that? And the guy's like, I don't got fucking time to explain that shit. I was trying to look at the color to see, like, I don't know what the fuck temporal aura is.
Yeah,
I was making my own assumptions. Like,
it's a lot of red.
It probably shows that he has the potential of being a superhero. Loki is just honestly definitely one of the most misunderstood characters. And you just love, like you said, I love to hate him and I hate to love him.
True.
But you just love him.
And that's what I mean is, like, Loki has, you know, introduced to us as, you know, Thor's brother, and then quickly kind of became a villain, but he's had redeeming moments. So it's kind of like fun to go into the series like, which Loki are we going to get? What's he going to come out at the end? You know, is he going to go back to his old ways? What perspective is he going to have? Because this episode, he's, like I said, like his ego is brought down a notch. Maybe not completely broken, but it's brought down a notch. He's seeing a bigger game.
It's like, yo, here's the thing. You're the top dog of where you're at.
Yo, you're an Asgardian. You're
fucking killing it. And then the dude comes up to you and he goes, yo, you don't fucking matter. You're like, wait, what? I remember, like, here's the thing. I'll never forget this story, right? First day of college. I'm fucking feeling good. I'm like, hell yeah, I'm in college. I'm doing things. I get to history, right? This dude's like, hey, listen, who's all, like, let me make sure that you're in this. It was a young dude too. And like, I was like, damn. And this guy comes up and he goes, hey man, everybody hold out your hand, right? And hold out your finger. I was like, all right, cool. He's like, this from your arm to the tip of your finger, right? He said, this is Earth's timeline, right? He's like, look at your nail. That's you. He's like, that's your timeline in the center. He's like, anything, he's like, and then he basically let it up, was like, nothing you do in this world. He didn't say fucking matters, but like, if he would have, I would have been like,
if it was night shift with a bunch of like adult students, yeah, he would have said fucking matters.
Like, and he looked at everybody and he goes, nothing you do matters. I was like, cool.
So do I stop doing?
Yeah, like, do I start coming to class?
Yeah,
like, what
now
do I do?
What
and
you want me to
he's
do?
like, I just wanted to let you know, like, yo, in the comparative, like, anything you do doesn't matter in the scope of things.
In the grand scheme of things.
In the grand scheme of things, nothing you do matter. I was like, what the fuck am I doing here?
At that point, where you're like, Professor Owen Wilson.
So I was like, oh, and I remember, like, I never forgot like that, and I cut my nails too, so I didn't have much. Like, I was
so
like,
it's extra,
yo,
like, oh, it has a
small.
sting.
I was like, ooh.
So you're telling me that you definitely resonate with Loki?
Oh hell yeah! In the sense of like, yo, imagine like, yo, anything you do doesn't matter.
Yo, you ain't big G. You ain't a big G. You're little G God.
So.
All right. Well, look, there you have it, Shortbox Nation. We're going to end on that very
more
existential.
Like long box nation.
That
like,
existential
ain't nothing short
dread.
about this conversation.
So that was Andrew Torrey that provided you the existential dread. We're going to go ahead.
Good night.
This is the end of our episode.
I like you said episode.
Thank you so much for hanging out with us. Let's keep the conversation going, right? Let us know what you thought about Loki episode 1. Feel free to reach out to us on social media or send us a short email with your thoughts and reactions. Hit up our inbox at theshortboxjacks@gmail.com. And make sure you're subscribed to the show on your favorite podcast app, because next week we'll be covering and spotlighting some recent and significant comic headlines and announcements from the last 2 weeks. But look, if that's too long for you to wait, consider joining our Patreon community and enjoy bonus shows we have there alongside our spin-off podcast all about classic comic book cartoons called Pilot's License. There's a link in the show notes for those interested. In the meantime, look, take care of yourselves. Have a great week. And please continue to make mine and yours short box. Drew with the 4 tops rolling this out. Peace.
Hey, just think about Loki.
We're going to get this 16-bit sound out of here.
It's like a great send-off song.